Yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your patience. I understand that waiting without work is so difficult. Sometimes we also feel the same kind of pain. But I appreciate your patience and with me. Thank you again for giving me this opportunity. Now I'm dealing with, today I'm going to present a very vibrant, a very new topic, that is artificial intelligence, deep fake, disinformation, and the study of regulatory framework in India. So why it is very much important that understanding the deep fake and artificial intelligence in the view of legal framework in India. Because recently we have seen a lot of hue and cry in election during in India. There's a lot of deep fake videos. There's a lot of voice calling in the recent election, which shake India at what is going on, because India is a very growing country, and the technology for Indian people, especially though the majority of people are, the population of India is very young, and technology is very limited access to everyone, because we all understand there's a limitation of education literacy rate in India. So looking at this point of view, that what kind of a video is being circulating during election campaign, and it seems like a true. So now every political party is crying. So what is going on? What is the legal framework? Why not we develop a legal framework so that we can counter and control the deep fake videos, audios, and fake images in Indian election campaign, because it has a very deep impact. Am I audible clearly? Hello,
Yes, we can
hello.
hear you.
Yeah, am I audible now?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So now, before going into the detail, I'll just go with the definition of what is disinformation. Okay. So disinformation is untrue, inaccurate, or misleading information designed, presented, and promoted to intentionally cause public harm or for profit. So it is basically a definition given by the European Commission in the year 2022. And the basic tools which is used to circulate these kind of things are basically images, a video, text share on social media, and these are the basic feelings. These are the basic things that basically share by the social. Recently, in the year in Russia in 2000, done by generative artificial intelligence, also known as the process is information, create pattern, and learn much as like a human brain does. So it is something like training a software, that how a human brain can do, the software doing the same thing in that pattern. Now, so the advancement in computer science, basically in artificial intelligence, has a given new method of conveying disinformation into the world. And recently in India, we are seeing, and the people are very amazed to see how these things can be happen. Recently, one of the cases which is being noticed by one of the politicians, he speaks Hindi, he don't know English language, which is a foreign to Indian. But the deepfake video projected him as he was a good speaker in English, and he was appealing people to vote for himself. So this was a case in India that recently sprouted. So people are very amazed to see this, how this can be happen without finding any loopholes into the video. People are very easily believing now this is a transformation. This is something that politicians are doing well. Politicians are communicating different language, and so this is how. And again, one of the famous case recently erupted in the case of one of the famous actors in India, as her videos are manipulated, and and finally it shows that a new person and a person who is not real in the video face been manipulated and replaced. So this videos created a hue and cry in India. Okay, what things are going on? How we can believe that these videos are correct? These videos are false. Sectortions, defamations, intimidations, bullying, and undermining trust. Then we have financial harms. Again, the extortion, identity theft, fraud, insurance and payment, stock price manipulation, brand damages, reputation damages, and then societal harms. News media manipulations, damage in economic stability, damage in the justice system, damages in the scientific system, erosion of trust, damage of democracy, manipulation of elections, damage of international relation, and damage to the national security. So we have seen numbers of times how videos are circulated, so that, and how the effect of these videos are in the general public. So there's a numbers of event we have seen. तो कैसे आगे बढ़ेगा दोस्तों? Okay, now so deepfake in elections, as already I've discussed it. Okay, the deepfake during elections have a very potentially used in U.S. election, in United Kingdom, Argentina, Slovakia, South Korea, and recently in India. Okay, so basically, after studying the literature, we have identified this research gap, that there's a lack of comparative studies on the basically these deepfakes are classified as a disinformation, which is a not true information. It seems to be true, but it's not true. It is a kind of a false information. So the research gap state that there's a lack of comparative studies on the false information governance model of a different countries. So previously that there's a study is conducted comparing the US and China regarding how the law and legal framework designed to counter the deepfake, misinformation, or disinformations. Well, the basic objective of the present study is that we will conduct a comparative study on the governance model adopted by the United States, China, and India on false information. So recently, in the last year, in the month August, we have passed one bill that is called DPTPC 2013 Act, which basically explain and have a regulatory framework that how this fake information, disinformation will be countered, will be regulated in India. Well, the basic questions that's what are the similarities and differences in social media platforms, false information governance model in India, US, and China. So we'll try to understand what are the basic differences between these three countries, what are the similarities between these three countries, and the basic rationales behind this. There's a Global Wave Index 2020 reported that using social media to stay updated with the news and current event is a top reason for logging in globally. Social media play a gatekeeper role for constantly sharing and disseminating news and information that are crucial for a functioning political system and democracies. So this is the use of okay. Now, so I'll discuss here the basic research design. The research design include the case study documentary research, focus on the following media platform in India and United States. The parameters which we consider for comparing among all three countries will be on the basis of self-regulatory, regulatory, external regulations, and co-regulations model in dealing with the false information. So now one by one we'll discuss here what are the legislations in United States. Basically, the research identified three basic criteria for understanding the legislative framework. First is external regulator. So in United States, victims slandered by the false information will not be compensated by the platforms because they are shielded from liability by Section 230 of the CDA, the Communication Decency Act. Whereas in the self-regulatory basically defines that the social media platform should have their own regulatory framework. Like in case of Facebook, has its own rules to establish a guideline of what is acceptable content. Facebook community standards established 6 types of unacceptable content. That's a violence, criminal behavior, threat to safety, objectionable content, integrity, authenticity, respecting intellectual property, and content-related requests. Well, it's a co-regulation where the collaboration is usually institutionalized, but the US government is not allowed to directly regulate social media platform under the CDA Act 220. So this is in case of US. Now, the next we'll see the legislation in China. What is legislation in China related to the deepfake and disinformation? Well, disinformation in China may involve 3 kinds of legal liabilities. That is a civil liabilities, administrative liabilities, and criminal liabilities. China exercises criminal law of the PRC Article 291, Provision 2, Section Provision 2, Article 181 to control misinformation. Well, in the self-regulatory, that's one of the famous. We have taken one of the case of Weibo, which is a social media platform in China, practices a type of corporate self-regulatory That's a mixed mandate and voluntary practices regulation. It has a 9 types of false information checklist. That's the first is the overall false, fabricated details, exaggerated facts, outdated information, incomplete information, de- decontextualized information, impersonating news subject, and deepfake. So these are basically the Weibo identified these criteria where they can regulate their content. Well, co-regulations we talk in China is a TOC mechanism. Okay? The TOC mechanism refers to the administrative actions of the Cyber Administrative of China and its local offices to meet internet companies' senior management on conduct talks, identify problems, and order rectifications and corrections when the serious violations of law and regulations occurred. So this is in case of China. That's how 3 parameters they basically done. So now we'll see what are the things in India. Well, external regulation in India is basically regulated by Indian Penal Code 1860, Section 6767A of the IT Act 2000. Well, recently we have passed a Digital Personal Data Protection Bill in 2002 2023. So these are the external regulation in India. Well, in case of self-regulatory, we have taken the example of Moj, one of the entertainment app in India, regulated the content that intended to bring discomfort. So Moj have their own guideline that what kind of content will be uploaded if it is found that violating the guideline of the Moj, the content will be removed from the Moj app. So these are the basic guideline that has there in the Moj app. The first is the content that's bring discomfort, spread what may be considered hate speech and abuse, promote violence and illegal activities, and impedes the creator or artist ecosystem on the platform. Where in the co-regulation in India, it is the government, intermediaries, and civil society organize workshops to develop collaborative approach to tackle the problem of a fake news and misinformation, while algorithms are developed to identify and flag flash informations and fact-checking websites are promoted. So these are the regulations at the 3 different level in India, basically. So after the analysis, we have found that we have conducted analysis on the external regulations, self-regulation, and co-regulations, where we have identified social media users. In case of US, we have seen that we have taken example of Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and WhatsApp, where in the bracket we can see the users in millions. Well, in the China, we have taken the example of WeChat, TikTok, and Douyin, where in India we have taken the example of ShareChat and Moj. These are the 2 basic entertainment applications, where we can see that the regulatory framework in India, US, and China can be seen that in US, the US basically external regulation is absent. Where we can see there's no external regulation, whereas self-regulation, yes, and co-regulation is again absent, because US believe in marketplace, US believe in business, US believes in freedom of speech. Well, in China, external regulation is very high, self-regulation is also very high, and co-regulation is very high. But in India is the same, because India adopted a majority of this regulation from the Europe and US. So somehow we aligned with the has a cyber administration of CAC, that is called Cyber Space Administration of China. Some of China's internet governance model as a way to govern internet with the Chinese characteristics. This way, the content governance is characterized by upholding the leadership of Communist Party of China, which is embodied in the state of administration. Behind it is a strong tendency towards the satirism. So it's basically tried to control over the content in China by putting in some legislations, rules, and the freedom of speech and parameters. Under the leadership of the party, mobilize the people of all ethnic groups, mobilize the enthusiasm of all parties, and work together to realize the Chinese dream to be the great rejuvenations of the Chinese nation. In China, content governance pursue a safe, civilized, and orderly informed dissemination order, emphasizing the priority of compliance with the collective goals. Well, whereas realistically, Chinese internet platforms and content do not operate outside of the Chinese cultural circle, and their governance is primarily within the realm of the Chinese state. Wherein US, we see that the US believe in marketism and technology governance first, where the US talk more about the freedom of speech and market space. American laws and cultures strongly limit the government ability to regulate internet connect. The idea of internet content, the idea of content governance in the United States come from the tradition of media freedom and internet freedom. The concept of America One is essentially a liberal supremacy system in the terms of the traditional media system. The essence of American content governance is to constantly guard against the government infringement on the private and individual freedom of speech, thus forming a complex social governance system with the liberalism dominating the American society. Where in the other factor, that is a marketplace, which is very predominant in America, American platforms governance on the content mechanism presents a governance posture of a laissez-faire and platform capitalism under the support of neoliberalism, leading by the technology governance in compliance with the law of market development and emphasizing the platform as an engine of economic development and technology innovations and forming the marketism governance. That is why US more focus on technology governance. While in case of India, the recently digital personal data protection bill 2020s were passed, and it seems adopted and supported the broader trend of European privacy protections, which empower citizens to have a greater say in how their online data is used. There is an infusion of provision that dilutes some proposal to satisfy companies and promote competition, somewhat on the line of the US legislation. So we follow the same line as I said, the European and the US in DPDB 2020. It is a mixed bag. Okay, while it has a serious provision for what the private entities can deal with user personal data, many of these yardsticks do not apply to the center itself, well, the government there, which enjoy wider range exceptions and power over the enforcement process. While the DPDB PB 2030 is in an attempt to regulate with a marketplace with an objective to become Vishwaguru. That is our objective to become in 2047 to guide the entire world with a vision of economy and with a vision of. So now here I finish my presentation. Thank you. Any question?
Do we have any questions from the room or the online audience? Okay, so one of our questions from the audience is, between the three countries that you looked at, the US, China, and India, do you believe one has the better mix of regulation and different approaches to these new technologies?
Well, when we talk about the new regulation which is passed in India, it's a very new, and there's a lot of limitations and difficulties and new policies. When we talk about the Chinese policy, it is a totally governance policy, which more focus on the power control by the center. When we talk about the America, it's more focused on the market and the freedom of speech. So the country has a different approach to deal with the data protection. So it is it's difficult to say which approach is the best and which approach is the worst, because it is a totally a dynamic process. So and it is it is not a constant approach. That's day by day new things are coming to the picture. Technology is improving, so new difficulties, new problem may become. So it is a process of changing and improving the legislations. So we cannot say that the Chinese legislation is the best, American is best, or Indian is best. It's all about the current situations demand this legislation. That's why we are bringing it. And by the time pass on, we will see new challenges, and new challenges will be seen with the views of new legislation. So by the time we'll amend our legislation accordingly. So it is very difficult to compare any legislation right now, because all these legislations are very new in coming era. Because US passed legislation in year 2020, I believe. China is very recently, and India just passed 6 months back. So this is not the right time to judge and compare, but judge and say that's comparatively which is the best and which is not good. What I believe.
All right, any other questions? All right, we have no other questions, but thank you again so much for coming, and apologies for all the technical issues we've been having.
Yeah, extremely sorry for my end, because we are facing we have been put you so much patience there, and you waited for me. Thank you again. Thank you very much. You people are great. Have a great patience. Thank you. I'm sorry again for the technical issues.
No worries. Thank you. Have a good one.